Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 169. Nice. Of the world's longest tenured Denver Nuggets spin-off podcast. Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets' Serbian Corner. My name is Miroslav, and before we begin, please take a moment to like the video on YouTube. And if you haven't already, subscribe to DNVR's YouTube channel and DNVR Nuggets Podcast channel. The audio version is ideal for your commute or to make your office or home office time more bearable. If you want to support the show more directly, you can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/MiroslavCUK, just like my Seco tier supporters, Peter Plummer, Daniel Lynch, and Brian Johnson. Patreon supporters can enjoy the ad-free audio version of this show. They can also submit ideas for guests and topics and appear on the show during the summer. The week started at the Ball Arena versus the sorry Dallas Mavericks. One of the worst Western Conference teams was missing 6 guys, so the Nuggets started well with a 23-9 lead after just 5.5 minutes, with Spencer Jones scoring 14 points in that span. They finished that first period up 14, but that was the only good period they've had against the inferior opposition. Jamal hurt his ankle at the end of the first quarter, tried to come back in a game a couple of times, but couldn't really. So the team closed the game with the 5 of Tim Hardaway, Peyton Watson, Cam Johnson, Spencer Jones, and Nikola Jokic. They scored only 17 points in the last period, on top of already established horrible defense. They tried to compensate for the lack of guard play by pulling up 13 times from the outside, but only 3 makes buried him. In the end, Joker had 29, 20, and 13, but was only 10 of 24 from the field. Yeah, not bad for somebody else, but absolutely unacceptable for Joker while the team plays this kind of defense. The team ruined Spencer Jones' career night with 28 points on just 15 shots. The team was 14-6, but it felt way worse. Finally, last night, the Nuggets traveled to Indianapolis to visit the city where Serbia won its last gold medal way back in 2002. It was a fun game to watch, but not because the Nuggets played a particularly good game. I even thought Joker was frustrated with his team at times, but luckily Jamal Murray looked like he had found the Aladdin's magic lamp just before the game. Whatever kind of shot he was taking from the three, from the mid-range, contested or not, from drives and layups, everything was on the money for him last night. I'm not exaggerating when I say there are very few NBA players who can put 52 points on so few free throws and in as many ways as Jamal did. Pure poetry. The only other important thing that happened, in my opinion, in that game was Spencer Jones's knee soreness, and he had to leave the game early because of it. All right, that is all I have for the intro. Let me introduce my guest for today. He is an entrepreneur, a former Colorado College Tiger, where he shot 50% from the three-point line in his freshman season. He is a dad who loves nature and whaling, but most importantly, he is the Tim Legler to my Adam Mares from Broomfield, Colorado. It's my very good friend, Adam Mares.
I like it. I'll be your Tim Legler. I like it. And also, you went back and looked up my stats from college? Are these even available?
You were 50% from the three-point line, man. That's impressive. Yes, you were one of 2, I believe, in total. But still, come on.
I was going to say, I don't know how many I took. I think it was more than 1 of 2, but it wasn't many.
Could be 2 or 4, not more than that.
Yeah, it's more than that. I think the stats you can find publicly available are usually whenever we played D1s, and we usually got killed by D1s. So it's those numbers are going to be a little bit different.
That actually makes sense because you have like a total of 5 games logged on ESPN. So yeah, that's probably it. Yeah. But by the way, just in case something goes very wrong for the ALLCITY, this could be your next podcast.
What is this?
In place of Tim Legler. Yeah,
okay.
This is
look at that!
Handsome.
Oh my God, look at
this! This is me being handsome.
I couldn't even tell at first, but my God,
this is how handsome I looked with Tim Legler's look. And by the way, if I replace Tim Legler there, you never know where it can go from there. Okay, so Adam,
your true ambitions are now laid out in the open. It's a coup.
Exactly. So before we move to basketball, tell me, are you a December guy? Do you enjoy BJ the first half of December before Yokmas? Or, AJ, which would be the boring answer to this profound question.
I think for me, my rhythm in life is more connected to the seasons. I like December, man. I'm in the holiday spirit. I'm in the Christmas spirit. So yes, the Nuggets tend to be most interesting January, February, March. Those are my 3 least favorite months of the year. So the Nuggets kind of carry everything for me. But if that's what you're asking, I mean, I do like this time of year, generally in good spirits.
Any shoveling of snow?
I did yesterday. We had a big snowstorm. I got out the snowblower. There's nothing like a snowblower, man.
Oh man, that sounds awesome. And by the way, way smarter than having like the underfloor heating outside to melt the snow.
Who has that kind of money, man? Are you?
I know some guys. I know some guys. Come on, I come from Serbia.
There you go.
We are the country of extremes. Okay, enough small talk.
Enough.
We were so lucky, and when I say we, I mean I was so lucky not to have you on the shows last night, because the people need to hear what your thoughts are on the last night's game and Jamal's 52 piece. So first of all, what is your Red Owl Roofing big takeaway from last night?
My Red Owl Roofing big takeaway. It's Jamal reminds us every now and then just what it means that he has the talent that he has. I mean, he's one of the most delightful but frustrating players of all time to root for, because, the inconsistency in some of the lulls or whatever. But when you see the highs, you're like, oh, yes, he did something that only superstars do, 52 points on that level of efficiency. And when he plays at that level, when he gets at that level, the team is completely different. I think about, one thing we're thinking about with Jamal's rhythm, or I'm thinking about at least, he's typically bad in October, November. He starts to come alive in December, and then he always has a great January. He has these big months in January, and we always say he's getting in shape and this or that. Part of me wonders is Jamal just at his season average in October, November, or is he also just starting his beginning point at a higher rate and quicker? So instead of January, where he'll start having 50-point games, it's December, and that ceiling is higher because he's not going to drop below, 22 points per game. It's just that now he'll go from 22 to 25 or whatever. And I'm hopeful. Like last night made me think maybe we are in this new era where Jamal is just reaching his this higher level earlier, and the level will actually be even higher in aggregate for the rest of the year. So that's one thing I think about is it's nice for Jamal to have such a big game like that. He was unbelievable. His shot, you just knew every shot was going in. And I hope that's a sign of, I hope we see a lot of that, honestly, over the next month.
Yeah, and yes, it was an extremely efficient game from him, extremely big volume. So it's skewing his overall season stats. He's at 24.7 points per game, by far the most of his career. He has the most assists of his game per game, most rebounds per game, most shots from the game, most three-pointers attempted from the game, and the highest percentages, both from the field and three-point. He's like 45% right now from the three-point line. Of course, that's 10 of 11, but still, like that, you cannot say anything bad about it. It's 20 games in. It's a quarter of the season.
100%, man. It's a big deal. I mean, like I said, the floor just seems way higher for him, which is important. And what I'm positing is the ceiling might also be higher. It's not just his floor is higher, but everything else is the same. It is possible that his ceiling is going to be higher over this next month. There's still things he does that can frustrate me, and I'm sure we'll get into some of those throughout some of the topics I know you sent me. But the ability to just win games easily when Jokic is okay. And he was good last night. He was very good. But where it wasn't like Jokic carried them to victory, Jamal did. And it's just nice. And I hope we get like 5 or 6 of those in the month of December. And I'm hopeful that we will.
How do you feel about his athleticism versus his just technical brilliance right now? What is the thing that is taking him over the hump?
I think it's less about like, is he quick? Because he's not really getting to the rim and exploding or anything like that. His movement, his jitteriness, it looks really good. But what I think it is Jamal always has that. It's just the battery pack runs out quicker. So he's isn't able to go to that. Right now, it looks like his battery pack is as long as it's ever been. So he's able to sustain that type of play. And when he's in a zone, then he could be hyper aggressive and he just kind of floats around. So I think that for me is mostly what it is he just doesn't seem to be getting tired the way he was in previous years, and it allows him to have longer. Like he had, a Murray flurry is this idea. He had a quarter that was great. He's capable now of having multiple Murray flurries in a single game. Last night, I think he had 3 of them. First, second, and fourth quarters, he has a Murray flurry. So I think that there is this thing of he has the stamina now to be at that level longer.
I would say he has the stamina to do it against certain opponents. I still need to see him do it, against teams like OKC, like Minnesota Timberwolves, and hopefully we will get to see it.
Timberwolves, though, I think we've seen it against the Timberwolves, and I think it was meaningful. Same with Houston, and I think it was meaningful. First of all, nobody has the stamina. This is one of the markers of the NBA right now, and it's a big change this year. Everybody knows that no matter how athletic you are, you can be worn down. And so every team is making their plans, is why they're full court pressing, why they're operating they do. Is like, hey, he's going to score on us, but let's wear him down. Denver has to figure out ways to mitigate that, and I think that's still a concern. Do they have enough bring-up ball handlers to not wear him down? But I think that he is above the threshold of what you need to be and able to handle that. It's just if you're counting on him to bring the ball up against pressure for 48 minutes, he's going to wear down just like everyone would.
For me, his flamethrower game was like 80% of the game, honestly. Is there any other storyline that emerged for you from last night?
There's one really big one, and I put it on the timeline. Like, Bruce was great last night. Tim Hardaway Jr. was great. Like, a lot of guys played. But the guy that stood out to me was Peyton Watson. And I put these numbers out, and it's just because of his defense. His defensive plays are so spectacular. Siakam's numbers last night, you look at them, and they're okay. You watch the game, Peyton Watson made him irrelevant. And it's the difference, in my opinion, between him and Christian Braun. Christian Braun is solid, makes fewer mistakes. He fits within the system, and you're always going to have this team defense. And the numbers bear it out. Denver's defense as a team was way better before these injuries. Now it's horrible. But what I think is different is that Peyton Watson represents your ability to cancel a guy out. It was Kevin Durant, who, by the way, is maybe the most difficult guy to cancel out in the NBA. He canceled him out in that Houston series, just said he's a non-factor tonight. And he's done it a handful of other times. Last night it was Siakam. And so what I put out there was, here's what's going on with the Nuggets since these injuries. Their offense is better by 5 points per 100 possessions, I believe, better than it was before Christian Braun went down, their last 10 games. Their offense is actually better. Now, that's probably a little bit of noise, but either way, it's going to be the same. Their defense is what's fallen off a cliff. But I look at it and say the Murray, Cam Johnson, Peyton Watson, Jokic minutes, and the fifth guy has been Spencer Jones. If you swap that with Aaron Gordon, you have to imagine how potent that team could be on both ways. But those 4 guys, they represent, in my mind, a lineup that Denver is most likely going to need most to win a championship. And that's not a knock on Christian Braun or anybody else. But Peyton, if you can cancel a guy out and you still get the production of all those other guys, that's a lineup you have to invest in. We're a month away from having to worry about this because I think Christian and Aaron Gordon are out. But I have just seen enough. It fits a theory coming in, but I've also seen it, and the numbers bear this out, that when everybody's healthy, they have to invest in Peyton Watson on the floor with the other main guys from the lineup. Whether that's replacing Cam Johnson, Aaron Gordon, or Christian Braun, I think it's a little bit of all of them. You have to find out what your team looks like and what your identity is, because you're almost certainly going to need him on the floor against Oklahoma City and Houston. That's 2 of your, and Minnesota. That's 3 of your biggest matchups in the West, and I just know he's going to be needed for you to win those series.
Just one last detail before we go to a break. All the Nuggets starters and most of the main rotation guys, their defensive rating is like 20 points worse without Aaron Gordon on the floor versus with him. Are the Nuggets just the thinnest on the backup 4 spot right now, as our friend Jeff Morton likes to say a lot?
100%. I think that's what's going on, is with all the Nuggets' depth, I think they could afford to lose anybody besides Aaron Gordon. And I mean, obviously Jokic, but Aaron Gordon about all the other guys. Even if Jamal Murray was out in a regular season, I think you would stay afloat in some way through more defense and a little bit more Jokic. But Aaron Gordon, and part of it is his replacement is because Spencer Jones is now filling in also because Christian Braun's out. You basically have Zeke Naji replacing Aaron Gordon. And not only is Zeke Naji bad, so it's not like you're replacing with a 0. You've thus far been replacing with a -1. And this is unfortunate for Zeke Naji, but he has just had a lot of opportunities here to step in, and he clearly can't step in. So yeah, I think that's a lot of what you're seeing is Denver doesn't have a facsimile of Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's take our first break, and after that, we're gonna talk a bit about Nuggets missing their starters. Don't go anywhere. We are back, and now that we have the great Blue Arrow game out of the way, we almost lost Jamal in that game versus the Mavericks. If it was like 5% worse than it was, we could have been without 3 starters right now. And the Nuggets do not have another real point guard who is like a top 250 player in the league. So that would just add so much insult to injuries to the other 2 starters, Aaron Gordon and Christian Brown. The NBA is facing a record number of soft tissue injuries, mostly to hamstrings and calves. So it is no surprise that our most athletic veteran, Aaron Gordon, is missing significant time for the 2nd season in a row. So this is the philosophy corner, since you are an actual major in philosophy, and I'm a naive philosopher, having finished 92 semesters of Serbian street philosophy at the University of Life. So don't take anything coming out of this segment as our definite takes, people. We will just make thought experiments and see where they take us. So first of all, I believe the modern NBA team needs availability more than any other trait. In order to have availability and be able to compete at the highest level, first, you need a very durable superstar, and luckily the Nuggets have exactly that. Second of all, you need a very durable second start, what Pippen was to MJ, what McHale was to Bird, what Kobe was to Shaq. Here's my question. Does Joker necessarily need a second star, at least on offense?
I think this one's a really tough one to answer because we don't really know. All of the sample sizes we have are pretty noisy. Jamal Murray was unbelievable in the bubble and unbelievable in the championship run, and that was the most success Denver's had in the playoffs. So that would lend us to say, yes, we do, because when he was a superstar, the Nuggets went very far in the playoffs and contended. We also saw when Jamal Murray was out, what you're saying here is you replaced Jamal Murray with role players. That's all you could do. And they won a series, which I think is underrated, that they actually went out and beat Portland in that series. But they were completely hopeless against both the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. And part of that was, even when you have role players, can you put pressure on the defense from some other places? And the answer was no. You couldn't do it with those guys. That being said, if you were rebuilding the Jokic roster with a clean slate, just a schoolyard pick'em of all the players, would it be better, rather than try to find a Jamal Murray caliber running mate, to get like a Derek White caliber running mate who is more a super role player than a star? And I don't know. What I will say is that it is clear that Nikola Jokic in a regular season cannot defend at the level that is needed, and that you're probably going to have to surround him with athleticism and defense in some part that requires depth, requires a lot of bodies that you can always throw out there. He'll seem to make the offense work. That's why I'm pointing out that Spencer Jones and Peyton Watson, 2 not offensive players, can enter the offense and somehow it gets better, but the defense will fall off a cliff. I think that there's something to with Jokic, you probably just need as much athleticism and defense so that he doesn't overexert himself in the regular season. The only way he can defend is by going in 6th gear defensively. He can't go in 6th gear in the regular season, and when he's in 2nd gear defensively, he's horrible defensively, and that's what we're seeing, in my opinion.
I love that you mentioned the 2021 and 2022 playoffs, because that was Joker and role players. But at the same time, you could say that they were the wrong kinds of role players around Joker, because Tim Connolly had a fetish for like small ball handlers. He really liked all of those guys, hoopers and stuff like that. And maybe if he just had some monsters around him, maybe they would be able to compensate for some other stuff, especially defensively.
Well, I mean, we even saw like Austin Rivers in that playoffs played like a great role player for a handful of games, and they won those games. Now, he's not that good. He just happened to have a couple games that were that good. So I feel like we have a vision for what it would look like if you had that caliber player. I at the end of the day, I think what you most need around Jokic is you're going to have some athleticism. If you think about, go back to when Jokic first arrived, his first running mate was Kenneth Faried. Like him and Kenneth Faried had this incredible connection, and the offense was insane when he was there. And I just look at that and say, yeah, he had this athleticism that pairs well. Aaron Gordon, one of the best pairings he's had. But Denver actually has not had, they've had a below average amount of athletes come through the door in the Jokic era. And sometimes when you don't have something, you don't notice it. So like Denver hasn't had athletes. We don't notice how much they need it. But I kind of wonder what Jokic would look like with 3 or 4 super athletic players. This is another reason I think Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon together. So now you have Murray, Cam, and Jokic. That's not 3 non-athletes. And then 2 super athletes. And it's like, I think that's a good mix. So to me, you're going to have some shooting. You're going to have some guys that can play pick and roll and do something with him. They don't have to be a superstar level at that. But I do think if you lose the superstar element, you absolutely have to have an abundance of athleticism.
This is a complete off topic because we are exiting the philosophy corner for a second. I really like Cam Johnson's rebounding. And I think Peyton Watson also improved in rebounding aspect a lot this season.
I think Cam Johnson has been such a better fit than everybody else seems to think. And I think it's just the point per game production and like the fact that he's not getting a lot of shots. To me, he makes the thing work. He runs into every action. He screens well. He reads the court well. And the truth is, oftentimes when you do your job as a role player, somebody else benefits. And I think Cam Johnson is like Yoke's having a career year. Jamal's having a career year. Aaron Gordon was off to an incredible start. I just look at that and say, yeah, man, I think Cam is doing a lot of the heavy lifting to make that offense work the way it's supposed to work. It's just the end result is Jokic scores, not Cam.
And maybe he's not actually heavy lifting. He's just, a complete basketball player and just completes the puzzle.
I think my prediction will be this. I think Yoke will love playing with Cam Johnson by the end of the year. I think there's always a thing with Yoke where he has to be like, dang it, I have to teach a new dog, like I have to whatever. And I think there's a little bit of that. But I think Jokic sees that he gets how basketball is supposed to be played. And the rhythm and stuff is still a little bit off on some of their direct two-man actions. But there's a lot of possessions. The Nuggets offense is insane. It's the greatest ever. Like, we should put this in context. The Nuggets are currently experiencing the greatest offense that's ever happened in this sport. And I think they feel that. The defense obviously hasn't been there, and they've lost these games very narrowly. It's not like they're getting blown out by teams. But I think that there is all these signs that Yoke is like, all right, this machine works the way it's supposed to work for the most part.
Okay, second question for the Philosophy Corner. Here's another thought I have had for a very long time. The Patriots used to, for a very long time, trade the guys away just before they would become too expensive. And this is something people have told me since I don't know what the Patriots are. For instance, if the Nuggets traded Christian Brown this offseason for a slightly younger player on a rookie scale deal, or for a veteran that could give them like 80% of Christian's impact on a team-friendly deal, that would allow the Nuggets to have more real guys going forward, which would help them survive the 82-game season without overextending some of their guys. Would the same, of course, would obviously need to be the same logic for the other high salary guys. What do you think about this theoretical approach to team building in the NBA?
I think it's twofold. It works better in football where when guys age out, they just age out completely. It's so much about athleticism and injury, and old players, they get injured and all of a sudden they're just done. So I think in football, you can have a little bit more of this. And then in basketball, of course, we're just seeing all these players play into 36, 37 that you look at a guy like Aaron Gordon turning 30 years old that might not be that old. 32, 33 it's at least believable that he would not lose his fastball in that time. Including get the injury bug too early. Now, he has gotten the injury bug all of last year and the early part of this year, so maybe it's not the case there. What I will say is it's always good to sell early on players, but basketball, more so than these other sports, is about chemistry and about how guys fit together. And the idea is, especially in a Jokic system, that you get a player like Christian Brown who not only does he have the skill set needed, maybe not quite the shooting we are hoping for, I think that's the Achilles heel for him, but he does a lot of things, and Jokic really likes him as a personality, and Jokic, nothing bothers him more than when he doesn't trust a guy, because then you're running an offense with a guy that you just never know if he's going to run it. Christian always does. And I think you can, in your head, you could say, well, if we get rid of him and we get a guy who's 80% of him from a skill standpoint, and in a year he'll be 100%. Yes, but will he be 100% of a buy-in? Christian's 100% buy-in as well as 90% the skill set, and it's hard to discount that. So I think that one, I have different thoughts about the Christian Brown extension and all those different things, but the idea you're floating of some guys are just expendable, so just keep the treadmill going, there's a risk to that too, in that you bring in guys who should check all the boxes, but they just don't vibe with Yoke.
Yeah. It's just that teams are going to have to be more careful about giving out, especially max contracts, even if it's like rookie max contracts than ever before. And we're seeing it, actually. We are seeing so many guys getting squeezed into the restricted free agency, which might not be the worst idea in the world when your good young guys reach that stage. Okay, last question for
real
this.
Quick, Miroslav, I'll just say this quick note. Every player in the NBA, or almost every player, probably 90% of NBA players, are either massively overpaid or underpaid. And once you just tell yourself that, like, there's always going to be something. So I know everybody looks at this as fair value. Nobody gets fair value. It's just he got overpaid, he got underpaid. That's just how it worked out.
It's so dumb, man.
It's so dumb.
It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's crazy.
And this is why the Peyton Watson Christian Brown thing is so fascinating. Is it's you look at it and it's like it's just not apples to apples, man. One guy played a lot, played with Yoke, has the trust, has all this stuff. He's going to get overpaid. And here's a guy that, oh man, he seems like he's so good. Why didn't we get him? Well, it's the nature of it. One guy got 0, the other guy got 125 million.
Oh God. Okay, last question. Giannis Antetokounmpo trade saga continues for the 5th season in a row. He threatens the Bucks that he would leave. They do a dumb panicking move, then another one, then another one, and another one. And now that they're out of moves and have Dame Lillard's salary on their books until the next Halley's Comet, he is fed up with them not being competitive and wants to leave. I called him up on Twitter for it and got the incredible pushback from the Giannis fans and possibly even some general Buck fans. And I have to say, I respect it. People should fight for their guy. Strangely, I get very little pushback when I call out SGA, and that is either because A, the Thunder fans are not very numerous and they understand why people hate him, or B, the Oklahoma folks are just nice people and they don't hang out on the internet lurking at who should they slam in the comment section. But I digress hard here. Is there a scenario in which the Nuggets should pursue a superstar like Giannis, and what would they need to part with it, to do it? What could you live with to do something like that?
Well, Giannis is a top 3 fit in the NBA with Jokic and will be for the foreseeable future. So anytime he's available, you should absolutely explore it. The next question, though, is the interesting one, which is what would it cost? I'm not sure Denver could put a package together that would entice. If I was Milwaukee, I don't know that I would be interested in anything Denver could do because they don't have their draft picks. If it lingers into the summer, there's a little bit more flexibility about what you can do. But at the moment, they could offer, and what it would cost at minimum would be Jamal Murray and Peyton Watson. And I don't know what other young players Denver has that are enticing. It's not like there's a bunch of guys on the roster that they would want. Christian Brown just signed that massive deal. And if you signed Giannis and lost Jamal, first of all, this year I think you're probably cooked. We're going to have a hard time figuring out who you are. But going forward, if you gave me Giannis and Jokic as your building blocks, I would say it's not that hard to build a contender around those two. Jokic's biggest weakness is his ability to protect the rim. And his biggest weapon is if you give him guys with athleticism and length, man, he is just so good at throwing passes to those guys. So to me, it's a perfect fit, and it's worth doing whatever it would take, including a trade like that. But I just don't know that it's realistic, because if you're Milwaukee, do you want a bunch of draft picks that could be anything, or do you want Jamal Murray? They probably want a bunch of draft picks. So it's a fun little thing to make an experiment of, a thought of experiment, but I have a hard time going past that.
I always thought Giannis would average like 40 points per game in 28 minutes per game next to Joker. And you know what? We wouldn't be worried about non-Jokic minutes ever again as long as we have Giannis. Like, he is an instant +5 with whoever he plays with.
It would be insane, honestly. Just physically, you couldn't match up with them. And then the defensive side is what's most interesting to me, because Aaron Gordon does the Lord's work covering for Yoke defensively and covering for the whole team, quite frankly, defensively. Giannis would be a whole other level. But then you're talking about two guys because I see somebody say, no, you would trade Aaron Gordon. What does Milwaukee want with Aaron Gordon? That's the problem of such a trade is that Aaron Gordon's not the tentpole of a new era in Milwaukee, so they're not going to be interested in that. But that being said, it's just not that realistic to me, even though in my mind, Giannis and Jokic would be such a fun duo.
Okay, let's take another break. And after that, we are going to go deep into the esoteric. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, no.
Okay, I've promised people some stone cold Nuggets prophecies today. I will go nugget by nugget and ask you, and I called you for this exercise, the Marestradamus. Marestradamus, yes, exactly. So I need to know what will happen to the Nuggets I'm going to talk about in this season. So let's start with the big guy, since if I don't mention him now, we might just flat out forget about talking about him. And before the season, if I'm not mistaken, you predicted Joker would end up third in the MVP race.
Wait, third.
Third, yeah. So my question to you is, why do you hate Jokic so much, and why would you like to tweak your original take now?
I think I'm going to be right on this one. I think he's going to finish third in the MVP voting.
Who will be the second?
Here's the breakdown. The Thunder are going to win 70-plus games. We have to get into our head. I mean, if they get 68 wins, it'll almost be like, man, they really fell apart, didn't they? I underperformed. But either way, they're going to be the 1 seed by 10-plus games. That's just my prediction. And and by the way, Shea, I have to hand it to him. He's even more efficient this year. His three-point shot has really improved. He does commit himself to the defensive end. He's part of why there's such a metronome, is he's a metronome. He just plays at this, his heart rate is 80 beats, it's just so controlled. It never gets sped up or any of that. He's going to have a great year, and so he is going to get a lot of votes, especially when, if they win 74 games, that's one thing that would be different. Be like, well, come on, they just set a record. It's the winningest team of all time. Are we really going to overthink this? And I just think his numbers will be consistent. So he's going to be number 1 or number 2. The argument for Luka Doncic is he plays for the Lakers. That's how it works, Miroslav. He plays for the Lakers. The Lakers are a good team. You know how many media members are in Los Angeles at every Lakers home game? And do you think if you were watching a player play every single time, and oh, by the way, every time I write an article about this guy or do a podcast, it's a record number of impressions, there is a huge incentive to overstate, even intentionally or subconsciously to overstate it. So Luka Doncic, who's leading the league in scoring, it's not like he doesn't have a case, also plays for the Lakers.
You know what? Yeah, you convinced me. I thought he would be second because I think Shea's just going to win the MVP. His production and efficiency is second only to Joker. And it is 4 points by box plus minus, but it's still the third best season of all time. So kudos to Shea. He is playing amazing and his team is unbeatable. So what you gonna do? You just convinced me about Luka. It actually makes a lot of sense because everybody will just be talking about, Luka and Austin Reeves, I guess, because Austin is averaging almost 30 points per game as well. That's pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy. But Luka, I'm telling you, his numbers are good. What he does is impressive. I mean, he's almost a 35-point triple-double.
I know.
So it's not like it's crazy to think that he's having this caliber season. And then you just put the LA factor in there, man, and it's just how it works.
It's true. Okay, Jamal Murray has had his healthiest and most consistent October and November, as we spoke about. So, of course, he sprained his ankle on December 1st. Luckily, he could have played after that. I'm not going to ask you the boring question about the All-Star game. I will zag and ask you, what do you predict the narrative around Jamal will be going into the playoffs this season?
The narrative around him, that he had a career year, that he's better than ever. but I don't know that we'll feel meaningfully different about him going into those playoffs. Other than I think we'll feel, knock on wood, that if he stays healthy, that he'll be in great shape, and that hasn't always been a given, even going into the playoffs because of late season injuries and different things. So I think we'll have confidence in him, but I don't think we're going to be predicting he's averaging 30 a night. I think we'll go into the playoffs and he'll probably have some 35, 40-point games, and he'll have some 18 to 20-point games. But the hope is that the floor is just a little bit higher and the ceiling's a little bit higher, and that's the difference.
Okay, fair. I just cannot add anything to it. I really think it's just that. Like, we're gonna feel better and not not crazy about it.
One other thing to factor into Murray's rise this year, and I don't know if the numbers bear this out, but it almost doesn't matter. I think they will bear out over time. Having Cam stagger with the bench saves Jamal Murray a few extra Jokic minutes. And those are more efficient. Traditionally, he has been more efficient alongside Jokic than without him. And I think that could even be a part of why his numbers are a little bit up, is you take away 4 or 5 minutes a game where he's not with Jokic and give him to with Jokic, and that's the difference.
Okay, now the biggest swing piece for the Nuggets this season. What will happen with Peyton Watson this season, and where will he be in March? I mean, both figuratively and literally.
Well, I think literally he'll be with the Denver Nuggets, and I would not be surprised if he asks to not be with the Denver Nuggets. But I just don't see a world where the Nuggets can honor moving him to another team at the expense of their playoff race. And who could you trade him for that would get you fair value? Because it's not like, oh, we'll just trade him for another defensive guy. I think Peyton Watson is a special defender at his best. And he makes so little money that you're trading him for a guy that might be a good defender. Like, that guy can guard a little bit. So I don't think Denver can trade him, and I think his value as a trade piece is going to be very high. I also don't think Denver will be doing that to screw him or to play a game of chicken. Like, we'll see if anybody offers you, although it might play out that way, at least in some way. I think it'll more just have to do with he's going to look very good. The minutes he gets to play right now with the starting lineup are so big. You already see him like learning all the way CB score, some of the flares and slips, and CB's elite at these. He has reps after reps, but you even see Peyton find his ways where he kind of gets shots in this offense. He's making the corner three at a high rate, and I just think you give him another 4 weeks of this, we're going to see some big-time Peyton games. We'll see some bad ones, but I think we're going to see some more 25, 26-point nights where you're like, dang, man, he was an offensive contributor tonight in addition to the defense. And then I hope that when Aaron Gordon comes back, I'm just so curious. If you gave me a healthy Aaron Gordon with Cam, Jokic, Murray, and Peyton Watson, I'm just so curious what that lineup looks like. And I think it's insane that we're 4 years into it and have never seen that before, because I think that there's a chance that's like a game-breaking lineup for Denver.
And nobody wanted to play Peyton at the 2. And you know what? Maybe he's not a 2. Maybe he's a 3 and Cam Johnson is a 2. Like, whatever. Like, I don't care.
It's just about where you stand.
3 wings. You have 3 wings, and you have the pick and roll of Joker and Jamal.
Sometimes you're a 2, so on offense you stand at the wing instead of the corner or something. It's like, what is the real difference? Just a continuity offense. You're going to touch the ball less than Cam Johnson and Aaron Gordon anyway, and obviously Jamal Murray. So you're already going to be a low-limit player, and the only difference is don't be on the wing, be in the corner, because you're more of a corner shooter. Cam, you're more of a elbow shooter. Aaron Gordon, more of getting to the corner again. It's just it doesn't make that big of a difference. What makes a difference is just look at these teams that are great defensively. They're so huge. Look at what Houston does. Their lineups are either big because they have 2 big, beefy centers, or they're just insanely long because all of their players are 6'8" or bigger. And Denver, I'm just like, you give Jamal Murray, who's got plus size for a guard, you put Peyton Watson out there, who's huge. And by the way, he's good at navigating screens. One of the reasons you wouldn't play a guy at shooting guard is they get stuck on screen. He's too big. He's actually better than CB at navigating around screens. And so you put that length out there. Cam Johnson has length. Aaron Gordon has length. To me, I look at that and say that's Denver's best bet at being like long and athletic enough to contend defensively in this league.
You remember how low I was on Peyton, and from the start of this season, I've been saying this is a big hoorah season for the Nuggets. I don't know what their cap sheet is going to look like next season and season after that. They need to squeeze every atom of energy from this squad here. And if they would be trading Peyton away, that would need to be for an upgrade of some sort. I don't know how to do it, but add his salary to somebody else's and just get a really, really big stud for some reason, yeah, I could see that. But other than that, you cannot be losing any quality players at this moment. You should be adding. And that's actually one of my questions. I'm going to skip right onto it. Do you predict the Nuggets are going to go over or under the tax line at the end of the season?
I'll say over because I think they're going to add to their roster, and I don't think that they're going to meaningfully subtract from their roster. Just to get ahead of it for everybody, I think they would love to trade Tyson, Zeke, Pickett. I think that they'd even maybe Julian Strawther. They'd love to. I don't think there's going to be any buyers there. So now you just have an open roster spot that will almost certainly go to Spencer Jones, and they'll probably kick the tires around something that gives them flexibility going forward. And if they can add a piece to the roster this year that helps them this year, I just don't think I don't know that that's coming for them. But I will say this: we'll see. It's a new regime, and we really don't know. Like, well, you asked the Giannis question. In years past, I kind of know where people stood, like the front offices stood on those types of things, how aggressive, how realistic. We don't know anything about this front office, really. And I keep trying to tell people, the offseason was great because the Cam Johnson move I thought was very good, although Michael Porter's having a hell of a season. But Tim Hardaway Jr. called Denver. Bruce Brown was coming to Denver whether they called or not. He just was going to sign without them even knowing. The Val deal was phenomenal, but it also was opportunistic. It wasn't, it just was a thing that happened. I don't take that away from them. They did some things that were great. Signing CB to that deal, okay, TBD, but I'm a little concerned about that. We don't know what this front office values at all, and we don't know what their ability is to execute complex plans. So there's a lot of mystery as to what Denver will try to do when push comes to shove.
Okay, now the question that makes me really sad, and I'm the one asking it. Does the Nuggets' reliance on Aaron Gordon, and especially on defense, make you more or less confident in the Nuggets this and let's say the following 2 seasons?
His injuries last year and this year are concerning. I mean, he never got healthy last year. He only played for like 10 to 15 games at a time and got hurt. He gets hurt in game 15, I think, or 13 maybe this year. Maybe it was quicker than that, actually. I think it might have been a little bit quicker. Yeah. And it just tracks with what we've kind of been worrying about him. Is he able just to kind of maintain health? So it definitely concerns me. What doesn't concern me, though, is that Aaron Gordon is the perfect player. Outside Giannis would be better because Giannis is longer, more athletic, younger, whatever, more powerful. But Aaron Gordon, just in terms of does he know what to do and does he vibe with the team in the way that's needed, 100%. So I'm worried about his health, but I'm not necessarily as worried as other people are about his body deteriorating in ways that are not health related.
What about a player from a horrible team of Memphis, Jaren Jackson Jr.? Would he be a fit in case they just make a fire sale?
What's difficult about that question is that this is another thing about like trading P-Watt, even if you got like Tari Eason's a really good comp for him because he's an athletic guy, but you're bringing in a guy who's never played this system and then thinking like, well, the skill sets are similar. It's like, yeah, but there's a rhythm to this that is so different. You're playing a different type of music over here in Denver, and the trade deadline only gives you like 20 games to figure it out. Probably wouldn't be enough. I think there's something even more true of that for Jaren Jackson Jr., who has an interesting skill set but has never played remotely close to this style of basketball and has kind of built himself into a guy that fits theirs. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s biggest skill offensively is that he drives. He's a really good driver. He draws fouls on drives, and even though it's ugly, it's not like pretty, he kind of just inches his way to the basket and then explodes. What use is that in Denver? Are we giving the ball to him and having Yoke stand at the top of the key and watching him dribble drive? Probably not. It's not to say he doesn't have the skill set for it. It's just he's grown up playing a different song, and would he translate over to here? I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. And Aaron Gordon didn't click right away. He was great for the Nuggets from the jump, but he wasn't at this level of cohesion with the other core guys for sure.
And he had the biggest desire to become what they needed, which is exactly. It's underrated how crazy that was.
Okay. You already mentioned a bit about about Christian Brown's extension. It's just this has to be a prophecy based on your flawless prophecy on him. Tell me, did the Nuggets jump the gun with his extension? Were they supposed to wait until next summer and restricted free agency?
So the problem here, it's a good question, and it kind of surrounds everything. And here's what I'll say, and people get mad at me, but I'm just speaking the truth on all of this. This summer's signings for him and non-signings for Peyton Watson were just the result of the previous 4 years, not predicated necessarily on the future or any of this. It was Christian Brown, and a credit to him, came in here saying, I'm going to become this. I'm going to become whatever they ask me to do, what have you. And he was liked by both sides of the, little conflict. Peyton Watson, I don't think, had that wisdom and didn't go to college and have the experience that Christian Brown had. He's not that type of player. He was a number one prospect in California, which is a very competitive place to be. And so it's just a different background. And then when he came here and didn't play, the same type of minutes as Christian Brown, the team had just invested in a way that they had to go. What sucks is I think that this question would have been completely different if Peyton Watson's last season alone was handled a little differently. And I talked about it as it was happening. Why do we never see Peyton get into play in that role? Well, just stagger it and see what it looks like. We never saw it. My hunch is if we did see it, we would have noticed things like the athleticism difference, his ability to guard guys like Kevin Durant and fill in, and probably his offensive rhythm with Jokic, those types of things. And maybe you could have made a more educated guess. But we didn't arrive there. They went into a offseason basically saying, we know Christian Brown is good and he does this and he fits, and we don't know anything about Peyton Watson. So how would we operate any way differently? Now, with just 20 games under our belt, I think we look at that and say he can do a lot of what CB does. So maybe, the things could have been different, but they just they didn't arrive at that spot.
C'est la vie, I guess.
But it's important. The reason I hammer this home is Zeke Naji was not this bad, and he was not destined to be a completely broken player. I think he is now. He is a wasted money, and I would be floored if he had anything close to a good run. Like, he might have a good game or two. He might even have a good week, but I just would be floored if Zeke Naji was a consistent positive contributor. I don't think that was the case, but that's what happened. Like, we broke him. We brought him to Denver. We broke him. I think the same thing is somewhat true for Pickett. It's not that these guys are great players, nor is it that Calvin Booth should have drafted him. Certainly shouldn't have paid Zeke Naji, but I'm just saying that there was an opportunity for them to become good. And I contrast it with a player like Jordan Walsh, who I don't think is very skilled at all and has been 2 years in Boston not playing at all, but was not broken and was part of the system. And now that they need him and put him in, he's able to contribute. And I just look at it and say, back in the day, it was always the Spurs. How did the Spurs find this guy? They didn't. They got an average guy. They got him in the system, treated him a certain way, and he just slowly became the piece that was useful. And I don't think Denver did that at all to Peyton Watson, to Zeke Naji, to Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson, who I never believed in. I just don't think those guys ever were going to be that. And so we took something that was a lottery ticket and we just ripped it up and said, no chance this will ever work.
Yeah, some teams just always have good guys coming in the pipeline. And, the Nuggets should think about it possibly and maybe improve on it.
Think about this. Ousmane Dieng, let's go to Oklahoma City, who they have found a bunch of diamonds in the rough. But they picked Ousmane Dieng under this regime, and he was a bust, and they got him as a lottery pick. But You know what? He's a bust in that he is worse than the other 11 players they've developed. Yeah. But when they have to, they start him and he plays okay. He's not good because his skill's low, but he doesn't kill you the way Zeke Naji kills you. And it's like, yes, man, that's the whole idea is, did you turn a guy into somebody who is completely unplayable and broken? Or is it, we have to play this guy now? Spencer Jones is an example of this in the other direction. Spencer Jones, if he was here for 3 or 4 more years and not playing and beaten up and hated and ostracized, he probably wouldn't be doing this. He's so fresh that you put him out there, he's flawed, he's not very good, but he has this energy and momentum to him. The lights are out in Zeke Naji's eyes. That's what I'm saying. The lights are out, and he's just a shell of a person that we shove out there now to go fumble passes.
Is Chris Paul a former NBA player?
Yes. Well, the other thing about Chris Paul is, like Russell Westbrook before him, he's such a toxic personality. And like Russ has a lot of great qualities as a leader and different things. Yeah. So I'm not saying toxic in that way. What I'm saying is that you have to have a specific type of locker room to be able to absorb them. And that personality is so loud, but he's so beyond the moment of his career where that was the case that look, man, the Clippers are a clown show and a clown organization, but they literally kicked him off the plane and sent him home. Like, that just shows you how tough of a guy he is to be around by all accounts.
Okay, let's take our last break. And after that, I'm going to give you a couple more prophecies before I will give you a task you will absolutely hate. So don't go anywhere. Adam, Is Cam Johnson a Nugget next season?
I think yes, but I don't think that's a lock. And when you look at Peyton Watson, I am almost certainly convinced he is not a Nugget next year. I would put a lot of money on that. But there are these weird ways. One of them is you move on from Jamal Murray. Something happens where you moved on from him. You move on from Aaron Gordon. Same thing. Something happens where you move on from him. Or you move on from Cam Johnson. That's the only three ways I could see Peyton Watson being on the roster. And while I don't think any of those three things happen, there is a world where there's only so many moves. And there is a world where they say, you know what? He shot 40% from three this year. We're going to go this direction and try to add him in that spot.
Are we going to get a month of this season where Giannis plays like 5-6 minutes next to Joker per night more often than not?
So some interesting things about that is I think we were headed for that. We were headed for him playing a lot. The injuries, I think, made it so you're thinner, so you get cute a little bit less because you actually need those minutes in other spots. But Valanciunas can handle more minutes. He's not playing very much. Yeah. I mean, his minutes per game are really low. And the thing I'll say is I wonder how much of that has to do with the injuries and just the rotation has to change and we can't do that versus is David Adelman a little tight? Because in the beginning part of the year, it was we're going to try everything and some things aren't going to work and I'm fine with that. And then you lose a couple games that you're not supposed to and it's like, nope, only core lineups. We're just doing the core stuff. And I think the Nuggets are in that we're not experimenting with anything that would make me look ridiculous. And just think about it this way. They lost 4 straight home games. Let's imagine in that Chicago game, you play that lineup and it's like a -8 in 3 minutes and you lose by 3 points. Doesn't everybody say, quit playing with the game. You're the reason we lost. Turns out the outcome's the same, but we're not blaming that. I think David Adelman probably senses if I try something too wacky right now and the team loses a game they won't, that's a real vibes hit to us. So let's not play with it.
We have a question I have to put on the screen because I want your answer and not mine. Why don't Pickett and Tyson play at all? I would rotate them as starters while AG and CB are out to give them an opportunity to see what they can do.
I mean, I think both guys have had opportunities to play. With Hunter Tyson, I'm just not a believer in him, and I don't know what he brings to the table. So he's a guy that him and Zeke Naji are the two guys that I would kind of write off personally that I'm like, I don't know that I need to see that. But, I mean, there's no good option, so maybe they'll find minutes here. Pickett is the one guy that I think actually can play, but I will say this. I've been very disappointed by how he's approached garbage time this year because he hasn't had great opportunities, and he's kind of gone in there on his heels. And Adelman talks about this all the time. Michael Malone used to talk about it. Those minutes, I'll give you this. I was talking to a prominent person in Denver's front office the other day at a game, when I was at a game, and I was walking out, and it was garbage time. Nuggets are up like 15 points. And I walked out to talk to him. He's in the tunnel watching the game. And he was almost like, no, not now. And it's because he was so locked into garbage time. And I was sitting here thinking, oh, of course, like you need to evaluate. Like for you, this is your evaluation time. And you're really trying to figure out what these guys have or what have you. And and then I compare that to when I watch Pickett play. He checks in with 2 minutes to go. There's nothing to do. And I'm like, yeah, man, no, there's something to do. Just build a rhythm, build something. So I think Pickett could probably play. But he's also been given these little micro opportunities, and I've hated the way he's approached them.
You are watching the Thunder way more than I am.
Unfortunately.
Are you changing your prophecy for who is winning the championship this season?
I think that's one prediction you can't really go back and forth on. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to say, hey, this is what I said. I'm going to stick with it. And I still think Denver is the best bet to beat them. I think Denver after 10 games, I was all in, 12 games, whatever it was. I was like, okay, this team is exactly who I thought, and they're going to beat anybody. This little lull has you concerned emotionally as much as anything. But what I will say about the Thunder is last year, I thought they were a very good team that was not nearly as good as their record and that they were vulnerable. And this year, I think they are as good as their record. Shea is better, especially from three. That was one of his big vulnerabilities. Chet is better. The team is just – they're such a machine. It's weird because they're the young team. They're so much more mature than the Nuggets in a lot of ways. They just go out and do their jobs, and they don't really talk. They're almost emotionless in how they operate, and their defense finds its rhythm just time after time. They commit to it, possession after possession. They're so committed to what they do on the defensive end, and I think they're legitimately great. So I think they should be heavy favorites, but I'm not going to – if I had to bet my house on one or the other, I would pick Oklahoma City, but I've already planted my flag on the Nuggets winning it this year. I'm not going to back off.
Okay, I'm now going to give you task you're gonna hate, and I promise you, when you come back this season, I will not give it to you again. This is one time you have to go through it. And just like last couple of weeks, we are gonna rank the Nuggets 10 real guys from 1 to 10. I'm giving you this task completely open-ended. I'm not telling you if you should rank them by impact, production, vibes, or meeting of the preseason expectations. Nothing. You just do whatever you want, and after I get your ranking, I will make a ranking showing the average rank of all 10 real guys by the court of many Nuggets Nuggets talking heads, just like Andy Bailey does with his advanced stats for the huge nerd index. So last thing to know, you should only rank the top 10 guys, because I don't want Hunter Tyson to appear at number 17 every week. So yeah, this is just the reason we're doing only top 10. So I'm putting Jokic at number 1 because I want to preserve time. At number 2,
hey, that guy is not real, though, I will be honest, but for a different reason. Number 2, Jamal Murray, easily. Yes. I think he goes there. Number 3, Aaron Gordon. I think 1, 2, and 3 are very easy. Okay. I think number 4 personally is Cam Johnson. I don't know if that's controversial or not, but he does everything the right way. He guards. His defense has been really surprising. It's been better than what I thought, to be honest. And to me, he's a real guy. After that, I probably would still put Christian Brown. I think Peyton Watson's upside and impact is bigger, but less consistent. And Christian Brown, to me, is kind of like every night I know what I'm getting from him. I do worry about him in the playoffs, that he might be a guy we all hate at one point in the playoffs because of his inability to hit an open three. And I think that's how teams are going to guard him. And I have less of that concern for who would probably be, I think it's tough, because how do you grade Peyton Watson? He would be my next guy because I think he makes the bigger impact of all these guys, but you get more consistency out of the veteran players. But to me, real guys are like, can he make a real impact against the great teams? And Tim Hardaway Jr. will or won't make shots, but he's not going to guard. Peyton Watson's going to probably guard and could hit big shots. So I think he would be my number 6.
So at number 5, because I pulled a D-line on you and was reading the chat, who did you put at number 5?
Christian Brown.
Oh, sorry.
And again, it's how you value consistency versus peak. And CB does have a peak against some guys where it's like, okay, he really affected that guy. It's just not that many.
Okay, so at 6, it's
Peyton Watson.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. 7, I was wondering.
And here's where it's tough, because at 7 I'd put Tim Hardaway Jr., who I think most people would have ahead of Peyton Watson, but it's like he has one super skill, and it helps a lot. And when he hits it, it's really loud. But he's pretty bad defensively. I don't know if people are noticing. He's pretty bad. I think after that I would go with Bruce, and then after that I would go with Big Val. And I'm sticking on what I thought about Big Val earlier, which is that I think he's awesome, but we have already seen that there are some matchups where he is completely ineffective against, and I worry that would happen.
And it's also the question of whether he'll ever play more than like 12 minutes in a game.
Yeah.
So at number 10, Spencer Jones?
I think so.
I mean, it's either him or like Pickett or.
I think it's Spencer.
Number 11 at this moment, according to David Allman.
I think Spencer's a real player. I mean, he's elevated into a role that's beyond his ability, but I actually think that he does things that are important for Denver. So
where do you see Spencer? Like, we agree that he should be converted to a full-time roster spot. Do you see him as a replacement level wing or a big? Because they're so thin at power forward. If they would use his spot on not a power forward, I would still be kind of worried about what happens, behind Aaron.
We do need to see it. I think my hot take, I actually felt this strong the other day, is he should be stronger than he is, because he looks like he has the frame to be Aaron Gordon, but he is actually not. He's probably can move. I don't know. He guards all positions, to be honest with you. So I don't know that he's more of a 4 than a 2 or a 2 than a 4. I think he's a little bit of all of it. Just depends on the matchup.
Thank you so much, Adam, for doing this. This was really, I needed to do this show to just bring in 40 different questions to you, because you don't have the time to do those because of the everyday shows with the games and everything. It is cool to stop you for a moment and just make you be a philosopher for a moment. Do you want to plug anything? When's the next All NBA show?
Me and Jason Timfer on Friday, which should be good. I don't even know what we're talking about. They were texting me right now as we try to plan out the show for tomorrow, but I like doing that one. Obviously, I love doing the show with Legs. Love doing the show at DNVR. Just all the shows. Everybody knows where I'm at.
Yeah, exactly. And in case you've seen Adam for the first time, trust me, he's the guy you should be listening to. Okay, that is all I've prepared for you, my listener, today. And please, with cherry on top, please take the word prepared very loosely. Be well, be safe, be kind to everybody. Call your mom. And until next week, remember that my plan is to be Nuggets forever.
Let's go.